welcome to the thru Recovery Life podcast. And today we have Miss Lisa G. Lisa, where are you from again?
I'm from Virginia, but I live in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, fantastic. And Miss Lisa is here to tell us what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, and share her experience, strength, and hope with us. So without any further ado, I give you Miss Lisa G. Go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm Lisa G, and I'm an alcoholic and also very much addict. And the problem has always been me. Early in life, I had no idea that I was even a problem, that there was a problem. So I was born into a pretty chaotic, mentally, physically unstable home life. My father was killed by my cousin, so my sister's son, when I was a baby. I was 2 years old when I lost my father that tragic way. So, a lot of people, like my family members and people that we knew close to the family, kind of knew that my life was off to a rocky start. They could see things that I couldn't necessarily see. That was like, they were like giving me ominous warning that the big book was like, well, what could happen. So what I didn't know, like what I was going to become. I had no idea that he was the type of addict that did hardcore drugs. My mother usually always spoke about him in a good light. I found out later on that was a part of his journey. And you know what, guys? I don't know if my dad passed it to me, or if I just picked up alcoholism along with heavy drinking and drugging. But I know that later on in my story, you're gonna see how bad I definitely have, how much of a real alcoholic I am. And so, so after my father passed away in such a tragic way, my mother was trying to put a father figure in our lives, and she didn't really try to go for the most like what we would call a square guy. Like her that wasn't her type. So she kind of wanted the excitement, the young and look good, and the big family, you know what I mean, type of a guy. And so she went for that kind of guy, and we married into a family of incestors. They would do incest and deal with each other. And because I was not a direct family member, I was easy bait, because I wasn't a direct family member. I was young. I was a pretty little girl. So I was molested by my step cousin when I was like, I don't know, I had to be like 8, 9. And so when that happened, switch in my brain happened that I didn't know until later on in life what was really going on with me and what had really happened and how it affected me. But I had no idea I was affected. I just knew that what happens in the house stays in the house. I just knew that I had to survive, and a part of me became attracted to promiscuity and lustfulness. Before I even really knew what that meant. I didn't even really know what that meant. And at that time, like, they would ask me, did I want to have sex and stuff like that? And I'm a little girl and I don't know what the hell they talking about. But even still, I knew that something wasn't right about it. So I remember, a little situations that happened like that. I ain't gonna keep talking about it, but and so I got older, still growing up around that family. I'm experiencing deaths in the family. I'm experiencing depression from my mom. She raised us off of depression and an extreme amount of fear. I had to be the most punishment, the most girl that was ever on punishment out of all my friends, because her way of keeping me safe is by locking me up. And so because of that, I learned how to lie and to do a bunch of other things because I realized that I wasn't going to be heard out by my mom. And I realized that no matter what I said or did to my mom, well, the way that I felt anyway, right? I just wasn't good enough, and I wasn't a good child. When really I found out later on in life that my mother was just living off fear. I could never do anything that was going to be good enough for her to not be afraid for life for me, right? Because you got to think about my mom walking in on my dad dead. She found him that way. So that kind of fear, somebody that's with you every day can just die like that. It can affect you it would affect anybody, especially something the love of your life. Um, so I got older, I'm like I said, I was picking up sneaky behaviors. I was sneaking out, my mother locking me in created a fear that I found out. All of this stuff, this knowledge that I have about myself and my understanding, sadly didn't come from a therapist. I don't like condemn therapy. Like I think therapy is really good. It helped me a lot. I had to go to therapy. I also needed a psychiatrist. I needed some depression pills for the time being that I was deeply depressed. But the 12 steps has legitimately taught me so much about myself, and I'm only learning more as the days go by. Like as I continue to work the steps. Um, and so like I said, I'm able to reference where all of this stuff, how it was affecting me and what was happening because of the 12 steps. And I'm gonna get into that very shortly. But so basically, I grew up a little bit. I was picking up these character defects, dishonesty, sneakiness, selfishness, self-centeredness. Some of them was conditional based on what was going on around me, like, being locked in the house a lot or being poor, having to move around a lot, becoming a chameleon. And then some of them was just, I believe, because I'm an alcoholic at my core. And so I was always selfish and self-centered. But I thought that it was because I was the baby, and I would chalk it up to that. But really, now I know that it's just a common condition of alcoholics. So now I don't feel so alone. Boom, there you have it. So by the time I was um 14 and 13, I was dibbling dabbling with alcohol and weed. And um I was finding a lot. It was like an exhilarating experience. I felt like I had arrived. I felt like I was already spontaneous and stuff like that, but I it made me more. It made me more spontaneous and more like free and open. And for some reason, it made me feel comfortable in my own skin. So, which when I look back at my life, I realized I never felt real comfortable. I was always changing my hair. I was always changing my clothes to fit how other people dress, like because a big part of me, like I said. And so, I never knew where I belonged. And now I know that to be a spiritual malady. But at the time, I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. I had no idea. But I just knew that I just didn't want to be Lisa. Um, and so I got a little bit older. By the time that I was 16 years old, a very tragic event happened to me. And uh, I was raped by my brother's friend. After drinking with him, right? Because I was obviously drinking a lot around the town. I was skipping school. I thought I was badass. I was breaking in houses. I was hanging out with gang members and stuff like that. But when he did that to me, all that tough shit went out the window. A huge amount of fear came over me that I didn't even recognize. That morning after I was so hungover, I threw up. I threw up all over the wall. Literally, I never seen that much throw up in my life, but I shot it out all over. My mother came and she picked me up. And I remember, she said, "What's wrong with my baby?" My mother was so much in denial or just not understanding what was really going on with me. That's how much out of touch I was with my mother. But she didn't know that I was drunk like that. She had no idea that I was even drinking around that time. And so that started a series of my mom not knowing stuff and finding out from other people or from situations that happened later on in life. Um, and so I remember that feeling, guys. My brother found you and I cried and I walked out and I threw a big fit, but deep, 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 deep down inside, I definitely wanted somebody to do something to him. I definitely wanted somebody to beat him up. I wanted him to get shot, stabbed. I wanted him to be in so much pain. That's really what I wanted, to be honest, right? Because see, my father wasn't alive. And that one thing about my father that my mother told me was that my father was he was a street guy, like heavy, heavy, heavy gangster, gangster, gangster street guy. And so if he was alive, I know good and goddamn well that would have never happened to me, right? So thus started a few resentments for me that I never, never, never knew what was happening with me when it was happening. And so I got, I just breathed through life after that. I was still on punishment every day, same stuff. I like to think of it as conditioning me to go to jails and institutions. That's the only way. Like that's the only way I'm on punishment for that long. I was on punishment for a whole summer. I was on punishment like doing all this devious stuff. But see, my behavior was getting worse because I didn't understand that I was becoming more rotten at my core. See, it wasn't necessarily just the drinking and the drugging as it was resentments, right? As it was fears, right? That was like driving me to do these insane things, and especially seeking for approval. My fear of not being good enough, my fear of rejection. It was pushing me to want to do anything to get approval and to be accepted and to be protected. And so I was hanging with gang members and I was hanging with gangsters and I was robbing houses and I was going to jail and I thought that shit was cool and all that type of stuff, right? And in the midst of this, my sister is having kids. So I got 4 nieces and nephews and basically I help raise them, right? And so thus started the firm resolutions, right? Like I'm gonna stop going to jail for them, right? I wanted to do stuff for them. I wanted to help them at the time, but I was only in my prime of my alcoholism and addiction. Little did I know. And so in doing a thorough fourth and fifth step, I found out that I abused them verbally many times, and even sometimes I might have popped them a little hard out of frustration rather than out of actual discipline to help them. And so I'm finding out, with my fourth and my fifth step, that I was a pretty shitty aunt at the time. I was a pretty shitty daughter. Um, and so by the time I turned 18 years old, man, I've gotten this relationship, right? And I wasn't big on relationships because after what happened to me when I was 16, I figured that, I could just use men, right? Since they use me, since that's what I'm good for. And I would just use men and make a living out of that, make my way out of that. And so that's what I attempted to do with different men. But this man in particular reminded me of a father. See, so in working that fourth and fifth step, see, I'm gonna get to the steps. This is coming very soon. What time is it? I found out that I was looking for a father figure in men as well because at some point I wasn't protected and I feel like I need to be protected because this world is out to get me. Men are out to get me. Things are just out to get me. And so I got in this relationship, guys, and I don't even really call it a relationship today. I don't know what the heck it was. It was like a weird father-daughter. I don't even know. Really weird. He was 11 years older than me. And so he knocks me up. I get pregnant. Um, and yeah, I lost my son. And so many things in between that happened, right? Like he got big control issues. I got a big need to be controlled and to be protected and to be feeling like he's my father. And so it's a lot of stuff that happened in between there, and a lot of trauma all throughout my story. And what I'm touching on is the trauma that really touched my resentments and my fears and my instincts were just all the way out of whack because of these type of situations. It's so much stuff in between, right? My whole life wasn't just after morals growing up. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness. A lot of things was good in my life, but these things really touched my core. And when I thought about them, when I first came to AA, I got so ucky and ill, I just cried. These are the things that I'm mainly touching on so that you can get an understanding of where I come from and where I'm at today. And so after I lost my son, I didn't cry, right? My mother had to stop me one day. She said, Lisa, you have not cried about this situation yet. What is wrong with you? And I remember she just, what is wrong with you? She was just holding me and I cried, but it was a fake cry. I wasn't able to let a real cry out, guys, until about, I don't know, 90 days of my sobriety when I wrote a letter to my son. That was the first really genuine cry that I gave to my son. And so I got pregnant again by that same man. But in the midst of this, when I lost my son, I'm so about, they say you crossed the invisible line. Shit. I right about dove over the invisible line because I went straight from alcohol and marijuana and ecstasy pills and Molly straight to crack to heroin to like whoa, huge transformation. And so I started to be sponsored by the street in a whole different level, right? And I ran away from home and I was homeless. And so people are asking me to try these things to stay with them and stuff like that. And as a young girl who's just been completely battered and beaten by the world, I was just willing to do anything to numb how I was feeling. I didn't really care what you gave me or told me, right? And so I started to indulge in these serious drugs and I started to have the backlashes of them. No sleep, which led to my face and things like that just deteriorating and looking crazy and just disfiguring me, and I was very delusional. I didn't think I was that bad. I thought that I was like, they call a dope fiend sexy. I thought I was so cute, right? I'm like 80 pounds underweight. I got abrasions on my face. Everything about me is just screaming, she needs fucking help. But I just wouldn't accept that I needed fucking help. I would not accept it. And so I had my first rehab stint leaving jail. They told me when I left jail, they was like, you can either jail, or when I was leaving some program or something like that for school. Mind you, I got kicked out of school. I didn't complete school. I got kicked out and went straight to the juvenile home for breaking and entering 2 counts of breaking and entering and 2 counts of grand larceny. And wait, and I'm sorry, I hope the bus not too loud. But yeah, because I do go to work today and I gotta catch the bus. I gotta do a slow process, but it's better than whatever I came. And so what happened was I went to the rehab. I did not take it serious. It was my first brushing with AA. I was always looking at the clock every time I was in a meeting. I did not want to work the steps. I did not see how reading
Eastern Avenue and Vaughn South Street.
I did not see how reading and writing was going to change my life from where I was at. Like, that's the last thing I want to do is read and write. Like, I thought that rehab had some magical switch that was just going to get this over. And in fact, the first 2 rehabs I went to, I thought was a joke in the game. I went there to gain weight. I went there to get cute, right? Because I was losing so much weight on the streets. I was flirting with the guys in the rehab. I thought I was cute again, I didn't see this as a life or death situation. Okay, so now I'm gonna fast forward to the last time that I came in the rooms. Right before I came in, I'm gonna tell you what condition I was in. Okay, right before I came to South Boston, the last time, the condition that I was in was I was literally, and this is not your dramatization. Now, that's the first one. Second thing was I had tried to kill myself like 3 times, and I don't mean, people say I tried to kill myself. Okay, no. I slit my wrist. I took a bunch of pills, and I tried to light a hydrogen on fire while I was in. That was the only actually try that was like, you know what I mean? I had 2 kids by now, and I didn't get a chance to get into those situations, but I had 2 kids by now, and I had been using while I was pregnant, both in everyone else's eyes. My family was disgusted with me. Shit, I was disgusted with me, and I know God was probably a little fed up with me, right? Because I would him ask for help, but I wouldn't do the action to get the help. You feel me? And so
Dock Avenue and Victoria Street.
And so so I wash up in the rehab in 2019, February 2nd of 2019. No, February 8th of 2019, I get to. And it's called the Women's Healing Place. And this is a program that is a behavioral modification program. And it's also a 12-step program at the same time. Every day we read the victim. If you do not miss a day of read the victim. And we go to 3 meetings every day. So imagine that for a year. It's like a lot. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of work. But for me, I needed a lot of help. Right? And so I stayed in
Dock Avenue and O'Donnell Street.
And a lot of days I didn't know why I stayed. A lot of days I wanted to. And a lot of days I really, really, really miss my children, right? But my children was the same children that I left at different people's houses, and I left strangers to babysit them. I took them to trap houses, hotel rooms. These are the same kids, right? And then I get to a rehab, and I say, no, I miss my babies. I want to leave. I'm going to just leave and do the same thing. It really doesn't make any sense, right? But see, I was still living in a delusion 3 months into sobriety. I really needed you guys' help. And so when I went to my first AA meeting, or actually my first few, right? Because I was so much in the mental fog, right? I was withdrawing from heroin and crack, right? And alcohol, for that matter. That I couldn't hear anything for the first month. I couldn't really catch the message. And so 60 days, 90 days, then I started to hear stuff that was sticking with me. Um, don't leave, right? Stay with us. Wait for the miracle to happen. Where's your gratitude?
Dundalk Avenue and Boston Street.
Sorry.
Transfer to Citylink Navy.
On a bus. I share my
Stop
gratitude.
requested.
I share my gratitude every single day that I was in that facility. And eventually I started to believe it. You guys told me you love me every single day. And eventually I started to believe it. And I was able to even learn or understand what love was. Because what it looked like, what y'all was giving me was just unconditional. You didn't care that I was all messed up. You didn't care that I was lying. You didn't care that I was borderline delusional or borderline crazy. You didn't care that I would get depressed and shut you guys out. You didn't care. You just wanted me to be okay. That meant a lot to me. And I had a lot of fair weather friends.
Avenue and
Transfer
to
in my
Citylink
disease.
Navy.
I had a lot of fair weather friends who only wanted something from me. But you guys showed me unconditional love, and that was the beginning that was enough to really keep my feet grounded in this foundation. And then I started to reconnect with that God that I had for so many years. I didn't get a chance to tell you guys because I'm kind of trying to rush now because the time is running out. But I prayed to my God for the first time, an unselfish prayer. I would always pray, that the police don't stop me. I would always pray to get out of jail. Always praying to make it through this rehab, go back home and be with my babies. But I was never genuine. But I made an unselfish prayer that my God saved my child. And even if it meant that I had to die.
Dundalk Avenue and Hartway Street.
Even if it meant that I had to die
Transfer to Citylink
on the
Navy.
hospital table, I was crying and I was genuine and I was on my knees and I was really begging my God to save my child. So that same God who heard that prayer heard me in my in this last rehab.
Dundalk Avenue and Hollywood Avenue.
It was different.
Transfer to Citylink Navy.
It was different this time because before I was just simply able to stay sober, and I was still doing a lot of the same behaviors. But this time, as I was going through the 12 steps and changing some principles, I actually felt different inside. And that's what was different for me this time. I felt different. Peace, like serenity, like I can go to sleep at night, not feeling like, so much guilt and shame that I just want to kill myself. Like I wasn't feeling like that. And I was becoming okay with my past. And I went through a lot of trauma and a lot of grief. For me to lose my son, that's a lot. And working the steps, I found out what was wrong with me, what was the roots, what was the causes. And I was able to be okay with everything. And so a part of the steps, right, is making amends to people. And I genuinely thought that I could just say sorry and everything was going to be okay, like putting a Band-Aid on a really serious wound. But you guys taught me how to make genuine, sincere amends to people. And today I'm able to do that without fear of what I'm going to be told or without fear of being rejected. Most times, right? Because I still got some amends, baby. Like, I don't know, some of it I'm scared as heck to make. But I know that it's not really about what the response is of the other person. It's about me clearing my side of the street and being willing to do it no matter how deep and how far I have been. So I made an amends to my abusers, both of them. I made an amends to myself. And I'm making a living amends to myself by staying sober and continuing to work this program to the best of my ability. And most importantly, by using my past to help other women to not go down the same path. And I didn't even get a chance to tell you that I was Navy. And so that's a whole nother, that comes with the game to me, the hardcore drugs. And I get to help people who are like that, who are so ashamed of their past that they don't even want to speak up in a meeting. I get to touch people who have went down very, very, very low, and society has just cast out because I was once a lost cause.
Avenue and Camden Drive.
So I was a lost cause in my own brother's time. But today I'm the light to people who are in the dark, and that is a completely different person than who I was in 2019 of February, in the early days of February. I'm back.
Dundalk Avenue and Willow Spring Road.
Transfer
to Citylink Navy.
Couldn't do it without my sponsor. My sponsor was able to help me in a lot of my low moments, and give me direction where I didn't really know what to do. And I actually took suggestions. That was something that was different as well. I got sponsees throughout this process, which was the scariest thing because I didn't have a job and I didn't have a car at the time. And I was like, what could I possibly have to offer? And it was like, girl, if you had a job, in a car in a mansion. It don't matter if you didn't have the experience of being an alcoholic or an addict in this process. And it clicked to me. I didn't need all those things. All I needed was a mouth. All I needed was the ability to communicate with a person. I don't care if I had to do sign language, as long as I could convey the language of the heart to you. I know that I can help you. Nobody is the whole world. I qualify for the city would understand, can't even comprehend. This disease brings so much misunderstanding, even to the fact of it being a disease. People often don't really understand and grasp the concept of what it means by incomprehensible demoralization, or what we mean by being sick. Normal people can't comprehend, but I can. So that's where I qualify to be a sponsor. And I even have experiences of living life and life sober as well. So, yeah, today what my life was like is I went to school. I didn't finish this time, but I definitely.
South Center Place and Shipping Place. Transfer to local link 62 and 65 and express bus link 163.
I got my GD at my rehab facility. I got a job right now, whereas before I was unemployed. I have my kids in my life every single day. I think the most important role in my life, outside of being somebody who can help other people, not Alcoholics Anonymous, and a member of my family, is being a mother and an aunt. Right? Because remember I told you about those kids, right? I was not a good aunt to them. They call on me for everything. They look forward to me seeing me and being around me. They love my company. I'm like one of their go-to people, and then teenagers, like coming up to being teenagers, and I'm able to talk to my niece and let her know that she's not alone in being like a liar. Because she's like she lies a lot. You know what I mean? And I had to let her know that she's not alone. I can relate to her, but her mother really can. She may be showing early signs of alcoholism. I'm really afraid she doesn't. The people can help her throughout the family. I'm a great mother to my kids. I don't yell at them. I don't just raise them based off of
Dunman Way and Liberty Parkway.
Based off
Transfer to local link 62 and 65 and express bus link 163.
And I'm almost done sharing too, but I don't raise them off of my fear of death, losing the son and stuff like that. I don't just keep them away from the world, and I don't just think that everybody's trying to kidnap them or harm them, though I'm vigilant about watching who keeps my kids. Barely anybody keeps them, because I know what happened to me. And I do have a fear that something like that did happen to my daughter when I was in my addiction. I was taking her around a bunch of places.
Dunman Way and York Way. Transfer to local link 62 and 65 and express bus link 163.
Right. I think the biggest thing that I can brag on today is that I'm not stuck in my past. For the most part, is that I'm allowing God to work on me every day. I can hold myself accountable. And probably most importantly, I have
Sellers Point Road and Merritt Avenue.
It's a legitimate
Transfer to local link 62 and 65 and express bus link 163.
My God is with me for real. Like, it's nothing that can really stop me or hold me back if my God is with me on a day-to-day basis. So I'm blessed to know that. I'm blessed to be Alcoholics Anonymous. I come to meetings. I do service work. I stand in the middle so I don't get picked off on the outside. I go to meetings for fun now. That's totally changed. Coming from having to get a meeting sheet signed. I sponsored several women. Some of them didn't make it. I have a lot of friends. Some of them didn't make it. Some of them died. And I'm talking about in the rooms. And some of them are flourishing, and I call on them for help. They call on me for help, which is iron sharpening iron. I do belong to a religious body, but I don't find the same acceptance and tolerance as I do in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I choose to do both. I still do have diagnosed depression, but I have been blessed not to take pills, and if it gets worse, I know where to go to get outside help, and that is the therapist and psychiatrist. And yeah, I just keep striving on this road to have destiny. I hope that I help somebody. I don't want to be looked at as a victim today, though I have been victimized as a child. And as a teenager, I don't stay in victim stance because I've been able to overcome a lot of that stuff with God. So and none of this would be possible without my God. It is an unseen force that truly has been working in my life since I was a baby. But I truly have been able to recognize it since I was a baby. And so I do live by spiritual principles today to the best of my ability. Now, I'm not a saint. And so, yeah, thank you so much for letting me share, John. And I hope somebody got something out of that.
All right, Miss Lisa, appreciate it. And, I hope people understand the background. I mean, we're taking advantage of the technology that we have. I mean, we've been blessed to have Zoom, where we can catch a meeting, and here you can listen to a speaker speak while she was traveling. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Okay, so there was one little thing that I left out that is extremely important to note is that in sobriety, I thought that everything was going to be roses and everything going amazing, but that's not exactly my story. I found out that life was going to show up either way. And in this case, in September of 2021, my best friend, since I was in middle school, was shot in the head for all to see on television or on a website that anybody could click on and see him get shot in the head. So needless to say, obviously I've seen the video about 1,000 times, but just trying to analyze and work out my brain around the fact that I would never see him again. And so I was in such a deep, dark pain that I wouldn't say my first thought was to pick up a drink or a drug. Nights of insomnia, thinking about making skills. We left off when I had no, I was at the point thinking about taking an edible or something like that, and I was blessed to have some auntie actually who pretty much saved my life because I'm not confused. For me to drink is to die. For me to use edibles to die. For me to eat those substances is to die because we're bleeding. And so in this case, my life is saved, but I wanted to do more. I was like, this is not enough to hold me. I need a space where I can talk about this on a regular. Because he's not the only death I experienced. Like I said, my father, my son. It was just a lot. It was real heavy because I always was able to take a drink or a drug. That was my go-to to relieve me of pain of death because I've experienced a lot of it. And so what I thought about was, there any meetings catering people with grief and trauma and alcohol this is just not talked about. And if it is, it's briefly, brushed upon and moved on because it's a solution for everything. But this is the type of thing I believe it's not something you really need a solution for. It's grief is something you can just go through. It's an experience that has to be experienced because as long as you love, you can grieve. And the same with trauma. It is something that you can help find healthy coping mechanisms, but it'll still be there and prop up with you. Trauma is created that reminds you of the old trauma. And so there is a grief and trauma group that I hold on Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If anybody is interested in coming, the link, the meeting ID is 975-181-3190. Say again. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the meeting ID is 975-181-3190. And the password is all caps AAG, the symbol ends in T. Everyone is welcome. Anybody's welcome as long as they have desire to stop drinking. And us all has come together and share our experience with our grief and our trauma. It's been extremely helpful in my sobriety to and to be a regular in this meeting. So again, thank you so much for having me, for allowing me to speak and allowing me to share my experience, strength, hope outside of recovery and inside as well. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Lisa. So I will text, if you could text me that information, perhaps just text the link, and I will put the link in the description of your video.
Will do.
Okay. All right, Lisa, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.